We'll call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. This is the regular meeting of Council of the Municipality of Swan West, held in Council Chambers at 216 Main Street, Swan, Manitoba, this 22nd day of October 2024 at 7 p.m. Present this evening, myself, Reeve, Bill Gade, Councillors Brian Burick, Kushniryk, Carrie, Blosha, Byron, Zbirun, Terry, Neely, and RJ McGregor. You ever notice to the ones that are away go to the bottom of the list? That's cute. Our CAO is here, Kristi, Ronnquist. Our videographer, Jerry Bergen, is here, and we have one person joining us in the gallery electronically tonight. We will head into number 2, adopting the agenda. Be it resolved that the agenda for the regular meeting of council held this 22nd day of October 2024 shall be adopted as presented. Is there a mover? Councillor Neely. Someone to second. Councillor Blosha. Any additions or changes? Councillor
Can we add, I discussed previously personnel matters?
I have added HR matters
HR
to the
matters,
agenda portion for you.
Perfect, thank you.
They're already.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Hearing nothing, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That's carried. Number 3, adopting the minutes. Worth noting here, there was a change to the minutes earlier today, so if you read them last night, we removed a couple things that shouldn't have been in there. Be it resolved that the minutes of the regular council meeting held October 8th, 2024 be adopted as presented. Is there a mover? Councillor Burick, and someone to second the resolution? Councillor Zbirun. The changes centered around the wording of the notice of motion, the conflict of interest thing, we just cleaned up the wording, and the dates that we had been discussing for different council meetings are in there, so we yanked those out because we didn't actually pass the resolution. Everything else stayed the same. Has everybody had a chance to review them? Does anybody wish more time? Hearing nothing, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That's carried. Heading to financial items, number 4, general checks. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West hereby approves the following payments. General checks number 20087 to 20112, the amount of $70,230.92, and pre-authorized debit number 2024-025 in the amount of $50.35, for a grand total of $70,281.21. Is there someone to move the resolution? Councillor Kushniryk, and someone to second. Councillor McGregor. I have the checks with me. There's a note that on the list you see on there, the last check was added after the fact. It's for Purelator for returning the old debit machine, and it needed to be paid. We didn't have a meeting again before the due date, so we added it in quick to the end. Who has questions about checks? Councillor Blosha.
Yeah, I do. Well, I do. I always do.
Just like Councillor Swan.
298.
298.
Just wonder what those are for.
This says any idea?
And you wonder why I have questions. Oh.
Yeah, this was,
Oh,
they
okay, I
bought this,
see.
but they needed the receipt.
Okay, I think I got it.
It's supposed to say splash park, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Skate
So
park, it
it-
says.
Yeah, it should be Splash Park. So it was money donated by someone to the Splash Park Committee to buy Jets tickets for the raffle.
Okay, well, I have no, it just says
Yeah.
skate park, and I'm like, what did they buy for the skate
No,
park?
so that's what it is.
Okay,
I was equally waiting the answer.
yeah.
So
No,
yeah,
that's,
it's a business in Benito donated the money, got the tax receipt, then the money was written across to the person who bought the tickets. Next,
I think that was it.
anybody else? Councillor,
I saw the one-ways come in a while back. Was there
Yes.
any cost?
yes,
No, is it in here yet or not?
no.
Okay, okay, by next meeting, eh?
Yeah, it's not due yet, we had 30 days, so we
Yeah.
figured why pay early?
No, that's fine. No, I just thought that maybe we missed something with
The answer's $10,000 each.
10,000 each.
Yep.
What's that for, what?
One-ways, there are one-ways on the graders, and 2 one-ways in this one.
The refurbishment.
Yeah.
We did. Yeah, it's $10,000
Yeah, I
each.
got one more.
Councillor Blosha.
287, go down to culverts, please.
37.
How do we need so many more culverts when we had so many we never put in?
We need culverts.
Well, we didn't put any in.
Well, that's
And they were
for
sitting
next
there.
year, I guess.
Is this for next year or this year?
This is this year's culverts. These are the only ones we bought this year so far.
Yeah.
I have a list of them if you want to go through the list, or how would you like to?
I just wondered, I thought we had a good supply of culverts that we,
We've used up quite a few as of late, thankfully.
okay, no, then if it's this year's culverts, that's what it is.
Yeah, they came, so the invoice the 1st of October, I think they just arrived here. Oh, yeah, we used up the budget too. So rather than letting it go to waste. Now, there was some concern they might go up, and I think we also needed some of them as well.
Sounds good.
3 really big, 18 medium, 18 small. Anybody else? Hearing nothing, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Bank reconciliation, we have a copy of that budget report attached. We don't have a bank reconciliation, I'm just going to delete the reconciliation part. So copy of the budget's there. So a few things. We updated here, the computer and us were having a disagreement, but we manually updated the bottom line because of that school division transfers that we paid that didn't show as budgeted, so it was throwing out the surplus and the deficit. So we fixed that. So right now it's showing a surplus of a little over $2 million. And the individual lines for each section are correct now, showing what the surplus is. So 300 and some $1,000 of it is things we said we were going to transfer to reserve. So that's money that will go yet before the end of the year. And then as far as other surpluses, we still have some left in the capital purchases because we haven't necessarily, I don't know why it doesn't show the trailer in there, it should. Because that should be in that line, whatever, we'll fix it. Some rec stuff left that we haven't expended. A bunch of this is stuff that isn't expended. The graveling stuff, we'll get to that a little later, what the gravel plan is. We're actually going to be crushing this week by the sound of it, finally. But for the
They were
most part,
pulling in the burrito, I saw. Weeds.
yeah. So don't think there's $2 million to spend, because there isn't. But those are the numbers to, I think it was this morning when this got printed. So it gives you some idea. Certainly we're a little on fuel. I guess it depends how much we have to grade snow. But we might be a little under on fuel, which would be nice. Looks like we'll be under a little bit on operator wages as well, which is also nice. Any other discussion or questions on that? Right, nothing. Let's go to 5.1 Crime Stoppers. So we have a letter from Crime Stoppers to Reeves and Councillors of the RM of Swan Valley West, so they don't quite know our name yet. They're looking for funding. They're asking for a cash donation of 25 cents per citizen per capita. I think in the past we've probably done a little bit for them. My only thought on this is that we're now lined up to pay a couple $100,000 for actual police officers that are going to do the same thing, so I don't know if we really need to fund Crime Stoppers, but throw it open. Anybody want to make a pitch for funding them?
Does it work out to $600 roughly?
$689.75.
How much?
$689.75.
Yeah, just a guess. I don't know, I think it's a pretty good deal. I mean,
I think it's kind of for the tip line, to keep the tip line up and going, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. It's not, yeah.
that's what I mean, like.
Yeah,
right,
that's what it's for, yeah.
People would phone in, or they might not phone in anywhere else, you know.
They also do it online too. So they can phone or they can use the internet now, which I think a lot of people do because they don't even hear your voice, right? They just type it out and hit send. So what's the saying of council? Yes, no?
No. Fine.
So one yes, one no. Somebody else commit so I know where we're going.
It's only 600 and some bucks. Why not?
Okay, so I see a couple of yeses, so write a resolution and then vote on it.
I think on the surface, the token thing to me is looks pretty bad if we're complaining about crime, but we won't pay for.
So I'm hearing 3, so I'll start writing
It just,
resolutions.
you know,
Right, you persuaded me.
it just, you know.
Are you gonna be that easier later in the meeting to get upset?
No. You said 6, what'd you say?
$689.
69.
And take that off your indemnity.
Yeah, we'll take it off your street. We'll
Well,
split it.
that's
We'll split
fine.
it.
Mine might not even be that much this month.
But, like you say, $6.89 is not that much compared to what we're paying on the.
Be it resolved, the municipality of Swan Valley West provide 25 cents per citizen as funding toward Manitoba Crime Stoppers. Is there a mover? Councillor Neely, someone to second the resolution. Let's take Councillor Zbirun, because I think you talked about it favorably first. Any further discussion? Hearing nothing, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That's carried. I should note, so people know, we had Board of Revision scheduled for tonight, but earlier today, the only applicant for Board of Revision withdrew their application, so it was cancelled earlier today, which is why we're just doing regular meeting and not doing Board of Revision first. 5.2, subdivision approval. Whereas the owner of northeast quarter of 34, 35, 27 West has made application to add approximately 6.5 acres to his existing property to 10-acre parcel and requires approval from the Municipality of Swan Valley West as per community planning. And whereas the Council for the Municipality of Swan Valley West has reviewed said application along with a letter received from Municipal Relations dated October 9th, 2024, and have noted the taxes on the property to be divided have been paid, and further that the municipality has no objection to the aforementioned subdivision. Therefore, be it resolved that we do hereby approve the subdivision of the above noted property, provided that all conditions and requirements are met as included in the letter from Municipal Relations. Is there a mover? Councillor Blosha. Someone to second the resolution. Councillor Neely. Copy of the subdivision application is attached. There's a nice little map there. Shows the little house site they have and how it's going to grow a little bit bigger, so they have a bigger backyard. Any discussion or questions?
Looks like it's in a lower area, darker there.
Yeah, it must be a little run or something that
Must be.
It's
It said in this thing.
It says it's not
being
productive.
used
Said
for-
non-productive.
It's not productive agricultural land anyways.
Anything else? Hearing nothing, we'll call the question. Those in favor? Subdivided, so it shall be. It's carried. 5.3, Remembrance Day. Letters attached from the Legion. First of all, they're looking for information on who will be presenting our wreath on Remembrance Day. Secondly, they have the invoice here for $50. I presume we're not opposed to the $50?
No.
Who will be relaying the wreath? Councillor Burick.
I can't remember. Are you gonna be in Benito or you're not gonna be here at all?
For many interesting reasons, I'm usually not here that day.
Okay,
So I think you should line yourself
Okay.
up to do it.
yeah. Who's gonna do it in Benito? Brad?
I usually look at RJ, but
Or RJ?
Probably won't be there.
I haven't even looked ahead.
Okay, we'll sort that out.
Okay.
You make a note that we'll make sure we figure it out. Be resolved the contribution of $50 towards the Swan River Legion for the annual wreath be approved. Mover, please. Councillor Burick, and I see Councillor Kushniryk. Any further discussion? Hearing nothing, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That's carried. Council meeting dates. Now, we did talk about this last time, but we didn't make it official in the resolution, so this is the resolution. Be resolved the regular meeting of council for November 26, 2024 shall be moved to December 3rd, 2024 at 7 p.m. and be it further resolved that the regular meeting of council for December 24th be cancelled. Is there a mover? Councillor Zbirun, and someone to second the resolution. Councillor Neely. I really thought it would be fun to spend Christmas Eve together, but any discussion? Hearing nothing, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That is carried.
Couldn't be any other nicer place but to meet together.
5.5, we talked about this once or twice before in passing. The numbers got put together so we can take a look at the numbers. We don't necessarily have to have a decision tonight, but it's here for information. So we're looking at changing the telephone system out for Swan Valley West. Right now we're still using an analog system, which does have some limitations. The biggest ones of that we find in the spring during flooding and then during winter when we have snow problems. After 4:30 it's impossible to get the calls out of here. So if somebody calls the office and leaves a voicemail on Friday at 4:35, it's Monday morning before we know that they left a voicemail and need some help. So we're looking at changing to something that can follow senior staff around. So the calls can either come to us on the weekends, or at the very least the voicemail beeps our phone instantly and lets us know we have a problem. So there's some prices for the actual phone stuff. I put the MSRPs, but I know a guy that has the wholesaler. So I also put the wholesale cost listed so you can see what the stuff actually costs. So we could tender for it, certainly. We can just buy it from a wholesaler. We can figure that out later on. But that's the options there. So it's not quite half price, but it brings it down a bunch. The MTS business lines, right now we pay about $75 a month each for the lines we have. So we actually have 3 here, but we need one for the fax line. But there's 2 lines here: Swan River Shop, River Shop, Benito Shop, the water plant, the Benito office, the fire hall. All have these $75 a month lines that eventually we could roll into this thing and not have to buy all those lines separately. Once we go to a digital system, we can use Westman phone. So they would provide us 4 phone lines that came here, and then from here would go to all those other locations over the internet, plus $2 a number. So we'd save roughly $400 a month once this is all done. But remember that for some of these locations, we don't have internet yet. So we can only do it once there's internet there, whether we're connecting wireless somehow, we're doing the tower thing in Benito to connect those sites. Some of this would rely on that. Some of the sites, so for example, the Swan River Shop, we have basically internet sitting there anyway. So we just hook it up that way and stop paying for the phone line. So there's some savings, but we wouldn't see all the savings immediately. Who has thoughts on whether or not we should do this?
I guess my question is, what's the downside to it? I'm not up to date on this, all this.
So one thing that's critical is it has to have power. So here already we have to have power for the phones to work, but like at the water plant, you can plug an old style phone in even if there's no power and get a phone line. With this stuff, if there's no power, there's no phone line. Having said that, every single place we have is currently using a cordless phone. That when there's no power, there's no phone. Because that was the trouble with Benito, when the power was off for the day. It took us an hour to find a phone we could actually plug into something to make work. So that's the biggest downside, is it has to have power.
At the water plant, when the generator cuts in, does not,
It's only a pump, it doesn't make electricity.
can we hook that up, or do we don't want to
With
with
that
that?
particular one, it's just an engine straight to a pump. There is no generator part to
Oh,
it.
okay,
So we
okay.
have to
Oh,
install
okay.
something else. You
Okay.
can certainly put a battery backup in that lasts an hour or 2. It's just if there's an all-day outage,
Yeah,
things tend to go bad. We need to, outside of this, we need to look at some of our planning for emergencies, because even our 2-way radios have no batteries hooked to them. So as soon as the power goes off, our radios stop working. Which really, we should put some batteries on Thunder Hill so they keep working.
yeah.
And then, ideally we should have 2 or 3 days of battery up there, so that in a huge big emergency, our 2-way radios work. And then the phones are kind of a moot point because we can use our radios.
Batteries, we can set up just a trickler on like a solar and just let
Well,
them,
at Thunder Hill, there's power all the time anyway.
Yeah.
So you just, they
I
double
mean,
charge.
it powers out.
Yeah. Because they usually, like the ones we have on the other repeater up there for the ham radio stuff, is about 3 days of battery.
Oh, okay.
So, it depends how much you use it. The more
Yeah.
you use it, the
Yeah.
quicker it wears it down. But you usually for that stuff put in several days worth,
Okay.
just so you have it.
Well, if there's not much of a downside, I guess 400 a month is a pretty good saving.
And there's gonna be some upfront cost, like we need 7 of the phones for the office, they're gonna be $150 each, and we need some phones for the other places.
Yeah, but in
Plus
a
the
year,
switch,
you'll have
but-
that paid for.
And I think overall to me, the service of having one number to call, if you have a problem and need help from Swan Valley West, you just dial the office no matter what time it is a very, very useful service.
And that would go,
We would set it up so after 4
oh,
o'clock
it would go to certain folks.
to somebody, and probably in there if you picked, if you have a Public Works problem, press 1, it would go to somebody in Public Works, or at least to the CAO, so that somebody gets the call. Because we've had troubles in that one flooding we had this spring, right?
Yeah.
They end up
Whenever
on
we-
Facebook messaging you, hey, do you know how to get a hold of somebody? Well,
Yeah.
we should
Yeah,
really
who was
be
it?
answering the
Yeah.
phone,
Who was that guy? You don't,
Yeah. so.
Well, I'm in favor of it.
Is it something we want to think about for a while? Do we want a resolution now? What
I
do we
think
want
you
to do?
put a resolution on now. I think I'd support it.
Well, if it's better, more with the times,
Yeah.
and cheaper, I mean, there's not much downside to it. phone up and the lady said, number, please.
Yeah. You picked the phone up and you had to wait for the other two people to quit talking.
Well, that's a
before you-
party line.
Yeah.
I never had that in town.
Oh, you were high class.
Oh, yeah, big shot. That was a big shot. And the operators could listen in whenever they wanted to. If you want to know something in town, you just have to know an operator.
Yeah.
Must have been an interesting job, actually.
Whereas the upgrade into a digital phone system will increase the responsiveness of the municipality to after-hours emergencies and lower monthly costs, be it resolved the municipality of Swan Valley West approve the phone system upgrade as discussed. So mover. Councillor Neely, someone to second the resolution. Councillor McGregor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favour? That's carried. Number 5.6, GRO Grant Options. So there is a large attachment here, 14 pages, that sort of details the program for those that are interested. There's a much shorter attachment of some brainstorming that was done around management circles of possible options. This grant is due November 15th. We can apply for up to 2 things. We have to say which one is most important to us, so there's a good chance they wouldn't fund the second one anyway, so really we have to pick what's most important. There's a few complications. We applied for $100,000 to the Benito Splash Park this spring. The government, even though last week announced that they were announcing who won the money, haven't actually announced who won the money. So I spoke to them this morning electronically, and they indicate that they'll know in a few weeks who's receiving funding. And like I said to them, we don't want to apply for that on this grant if we already got the other grant, because you're not allowed both. It's one or the other. So if we got that, that would be a waste of this grant. But if we didn't get that, we could apply here. Other options, this would cover leachate pond construction at the Benito landfill, which as you know we need to do. I can't yet see a way to get the solid waste cell construction into it. It looks like the grant doesn't cover that specifically. It will cover things that improve recycling. It will cover things that improve the environment, like a leachate pond. So conceivably, moving that shack back, so we better check the stuff coming into the dump and sort out the recycling quicker, would be something that would be covered. Maybe even installing the electricity into it. Probably cameras for the landfill would be covered, but I think digging the next cell wouldn't be. But the leachate pond itself is probably going to be $100,000. So if we could get half of that covered, it would certainly be useful. We could look at the splash park thing. We could look towards the fire department if we want to look at the water tanker or such. Might be a little premature though. We could look at some emergency planning. So we could look at the backup power for the lift station. That would be an option. We could look at backup power for the well site or the office. We could look at those upgrades to like the radios on Thunder Hill, putting the batteries in. If you look at the money available, it's about $42 million. It excludes the city of Winnipeg. So rough math means we could get up to $200,000 if every municipality got a share. Some will get more, some will get less. But we don't want to undershoot our application. I think we want to be asking for at least $100,000 for something. What does council think we should ask for? Councillor Neely?
Fire hall in Benito, where do we sit with that?
So we've received $500,000. We have it in the bank. And we cannot stack this grant with that grant.
Okay, that's what I was.
So it can be for equipment for the fire hall. It would have to be a truck of some sort, but it can't be for the hall itself because the first grant was for the hall.
I thought we had, I couldn't remember how much it was. But
No. We did very well because that was basically this program last year was what got the $500,000 for the hall.
okay.
It does say here regional landfill expansion, eh?
We would have to make a way to make it be regional.
Oh,
And I don't know, like the Saskatchewan angle, but I don't know if they would consider Saskatchewan municipalities because it's Manitoba grant. When we say it's regional and some of the Saskatchewan people come, they'd be like, we don't care about Saskatchewan. If we were doing like the Swan River landfill that's regional for the bigger area, absolutely. But I looked at that to see if I could figure out how to make Benito be that, and I don't know if we can make that argument good enough. We certainly try. They might kind of figure it out.
They also mentioned in there recreational facilities like, or halls and stuff like that, or, so.
There's a spot
Might
in
be
there
something
too.
we wanna look at the rec center, we need, I don't know.
There's a spot there for making, like emergency shelters, so say the rec center, for putting emergency power and heat in there, so that in the event of no power for several days, that would be a shelter people could go to and stay warm. There's some words in there that go around with that sort of stuff for disaster prevention.
I'd lean more towards that pond than that.
Yeah,
I know,
the
personally.
land,
I think the pond is where, like,
the
we have to do
landfill
the
is where
pond,
we have to do it.
and if we don't get a grant for it, we're paying for it anyway. So that's the best bang for our buck, right? Because we're gonna spend that money, and it's just, anything we get takes off what we're gonna spend.
We can save 50,000.
I mean, there's also bridges in here too, that you
There
could,
is. The bridges,
Yeah, no.
you have to have, they will grant you money for having an engineer look at a bridge, but there isn't, like, we could go for that, but there isn't time to have an engineer look and have the actual bridge thing in here yet. And we can't get an actual bridge applied for because we don't have the paperwork done to do it.
That picture that was sent of the low-level crossing, is that the one we gotta go for?
Uh-huh.
That may qualify for this.
It would qualify if we had the engineering done for the bridge. We don't have the engineering done yet.
Oh, I see,
To
okay.
show,
Okay,
so we can apply, like, in round one, you can apply for money to get an engineer to tell you how to fix it.
Yeah,
And
then,
then in round two, you can
if you get
apply for the
round two,
bridge.
if you get round two, that's.
I know the bridges thing was certainly, I looked at that for a while, but we just, I don't think by the 15th we can, that's 3 weeks. There's no way we're gonna have that paperwork ready to apply.
because it does say bridge replacement.
To jump out of topic for a moment, that low level crossing, it's not good.
No,
Well, it hasn't really been for years, it was patched up a few years back.
I was out there with the engineer, the morning we were looking at it, and he was making a lot of noises about a bridge,
One actual bridge instead.
for $3 million.
Wow.
That's cheap. Nowadays.
Quickly.
We could move
What's-
the bridge
what's-
to
what's
nowhere
our-
over there.
Yeah, the bridge to nowhere.
alternative, like, if we don't do the bridge, it is closed.
Not immediately. It has failed, so that this, the dip in it, is where it has failed so substantially, there's no longer support for the concrete. The concrete has broken and fallen into the river, so there's nothing under that section of the bridge anymore. I was standing on it as someone drove across. It's very believable, there's nothing under that section of the bridge anymore, it moves. So, if we were to repair, you can repair those types
Yeah.
of crossings, you can't replace them, you can repair them. He figures a minimum $100,000. We would build a dam around half of it, get the water out of it, open the top up, go under there and pour a bunch of concrete into the hole, put some new culverts in because they've all failed, put that back, move the dam to the other side, suck the water out of it, do it all. $100,000 gets you basically the opening and ready to start doing the concrete, and the question is how much concrete you put in there, which
Yeah,
could be
piles.
piles.
Could be
Another $100,000.
Yeah, yeah.
$500,000 project.
Which was, I said, like, so the report he's gonna make, it hasn't come yet. I said, we want to know how to fix it. But we want an estimate, like fairly reasonable, what's that gonna cost, but also what would the bridge cost? Because if we're gonna be 500,000 on fixing it, should we be looking at bridges instead? Because he says the fix will have a 5-year lifespan.
Yeah.
Fix would have a 5-year, wow.
That's it.
So, we will need to do, if we had all of our ducks in a row for that, absolutely, this would be something we should be chasing after. But, we'll have to get our ducks in a row, so that we're ready next time there's a grant like this. But we'll have to, first we have to make a decision, are we fixing it or replacing it?
Yeah,
But we need to get that report and then get into that. He also suggested that most of the damage looks like it was a flood-related issue, so he is going to be filing his report that he believes is a DFA claim. So it's pretty late for that because, we didn't this spring say, hey, look, this just happened from the flood. But he feels that, so we're gonna try it. But I wouldn't hold out hope there.
When the water's going over, you can't see it anyways, I mean, you gotta get.
And even when they washed it out this spring, but it didn't break until a little later. It got, there was a little movement before, but it's really a lot
Water
worse this
wasn't
year.
holding it up anymore.
DFA owes us anyway for building the bridge to nowhere. They owe us.
That bridge,
Maybe
that
we
bridge,
should
Disaster.
relocate that bridge over to there.
that bridge to nowhere, you're talking about the one in Alpine?
Yeah.
Oh,
I said they owe us, cause we said we didn't.
we didn't want it.
Well, it's
They
crazy.
Made us do it.
Yeah, so they owe us, so we better go back on it.
So is the general thought we should do the landfill thing? What's everybody
Yes.
else's thoughts?
I
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would think it's likely top priority item right now.
So I'm going to get the CAO to speak to the engineer and see if they can give us a rough costing of what they think that will cost, because we'll need that for the grant to say, this is what it's gonna cost. But we'll also take an eye to the portions that say, improving recycling. So I think if we had our landfill attendant better positioned, so he saw what was coming in, that would improve recycling. Because we'd be easier to say, oh, you have to put that in recycling.
With some power.
Yeah, so, we'll aim towards what we
Dress
wanna
it
do
up
there.
a little bit.
Yeah. And see if we can sneak some more in besides just a leachate pond, some other things that are good for the environment.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah,
it says in there improvements to stuff.
exactly. Okay, we will chase after that. It's due on the 15th, so you may see it at the next council meeting for review. If not, it'll get filed by the 15th, no matter what, so it's in. 5.7, Benito Cafe tax sale. So I've attached a bunch of photos here. This is the M&M Cafe in Benito that went for tax sale. It was not purchased. So I attended there a couple of evenings back and changed the locks, so we now have keys for the building. And then I took some pictures. This was just yesterday, I believe. I did the picture taking when the sun was up so you could see a little better. There's currently no electricity in the building. It's been disconnected because of non-payment. So, to the untrained eye, it probably looks pretty bad.
Oh, the kitchen looks good, very rumble.
Yeah. There is obviously a couple leaks in the roof up there, which has caused some damage inside the building. And some of those leaks are a few years old and some of those leaks are newer. So that one in the kitchen is fairly new. I peeked around there a bit. I've talked to a few people that know the building. You're gonna love where this is going, by the way. Like, just look at your face so I get where I'm going. We haven't done a full foundation inspection yet. We would need to do that to see what exactly is under there, but I spoke to some people about how it was built. If it wasn't leaking, this is the type of damage that is fairly repairable. It doesn't seem to have bothered the ceiling that much, other than some stucco and drywall collapsing and this moisture bringing things down. The rafters still look fairly good up there. Maybe a couple little patches. The floor seems fairly good too, with the exception of where there's a reno done a while back and they took a wall out to make an area bigger and it's a little rough in there. But some of it's just plywood and the plywood got wet and swelled. So if you peeled the plywood off and put a new piece on there. So, if we were to demolish this, we're thinking it's gonna be really expensive to tear it down.
Likely 40,000-50,000 bucks.
The price to put a roof on it is probably cheaper than tearing the building down. So if we put a roof on it, we would stop the damage. And do you think we might find a motivated soul someplace? I won't call him a sucker, but a motivated soul that might want this place, either lease it from us, whatever. I think, like, when I bought that town office, it was way worse than this. Like, night and day difference. This looks like nothing compared to that building when we walked into it. It was trashed.
Which building?
The one I'm in now, the old town office.
Oh, and
Because it was the same thing, roof was leaking. And when I came in, probably half of the ceiling was on the ground and there were mushrooms growing out of it. This is nothing compared to that. This is easily fixable.
the front end looks
The front end is
decent,
fine. Yeah,
you know.
it's just the back end. And it's not, there's lots of it that's fine too. There's just a few spots that are bad.
You see the concrete floor under the back part where the lounge is?
Looks like it. I did not venture into the basement. He wouldn't either.
It's only a partial basement under there.
I think it's a partial basement. I don't think there's a basement under the lounge part.
Because if there, all you gotta do there is just peel that carpet out of there. It's half the battle.
So my pitch is we should give some consideration to preserving it. Because if we tear it down, nothing's ever getting built there again for a restaurant. It has range hood, it has grills, the range hood was certified recently. It is a very viable little place for someone to operate. And I think if we look at the history of how it got to be where it is, it's not because there wasn't a business case to operate a restaurant there, it was just the way it was done.
Are we gonna be held liable for any past bills payable
It's free and clear.
on the government end of it?
Once it goes to tax sale, all liens and such are wiped away. So we own it.
That was my question.
Yeah, the liens are all gone now. I don't think it's officially landed in our name yet for another week or two till the paperwork's done, but all of that's wiped away.
I guess I'd like to see the cost of it before I agree to that,
Okay,
like an estimate.
so we'll check into it a bit,
Yeah,
is that
like
suitable?
yeah,
Okay.
I wouldn't just
Yeah.
raise my hand today to say,
No,
let's
but-
fix it, I wanna see the
Because
cost.
Well, we can't even do it,
Oh.
because it's
Yeah.
gonna snow right away.
How wide?
Well, I know we can't do it
How
right
wide
away,
is the
but
building?
I don't even know,
About 30 feet.
must be about 30, yeah. I had one guy, I just said,
It's good length.
70?
I was gonna say 80, but maybe
Well,
70.
just about to the back alley.
Yeah. It's almost, take off a car, 15, 20 feet and you're almost full lot.
Could
80
have,
feet or what?
What's that?
80 feet?
A lot of be about 120 feet.
But we'd have to check out that basement first too.
yeah, we have to make sure that's not a disaster of some sort before we.
Who
I
built
did
that place?
You must know, you were there at the time.
Who built it?
Was the back half added later?
Yeah.
Do you know? It looks like it was.
Did that not, was that the
That was-
bakery at one time, that place?
was
Yeah.
the pool hall, or-
It was Coles had it.
It's a bakery, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Gary Kwong's brother had it.
Well, it was, wasn't it Coles at that, before that?
Councillor Burick?
if it was all fixed up, could Benito support a restaurant or no? Because like, I mean, is there anything in Benito right now as a restaurant? Not really.
there's going to be.
No, other than this one.
Well, the
There's going to
hotel
be other
may
than
be
this, the hotel.
going to be a restaurant. We did have someone in today actually asking about renting this building to create a different business,
Okay.
which we'll see. There's some details about the hotel that have come up in the last day or two that kind of make you question if it'll be a restaurant or not. We hope it will be, but I like the idea of not tearing a building down, if it can be saved and become, even if it's not a restaurant, although right now, the cost of putting that range hood and everything into a new place, like the hotel doesn't have any of that. So, it'd be interesting. But even if it became something else, just have something in Benito rather than a vacant lot. I did have one person ask about buying it to tear it down. I said, well, if you just want to build something, we'll find you a spot. Like, there's lots of empty spots to go build on. So, we'll check into a little more. One person said 20 to 30,000, but that was a very uneducated, it was a builder, but they just guessed at it. But we can get some quotes, we'll look at the basement, we'll figure that out and see if it's doable or not, and then we'll come back with some idea of what could be done. Let's see. And if someone comes along in the meantime that wants to buy it from us and do it themselves, even better. Okay, 5-8, the Swan River Crossing, so some photos are attached there. The one photo doesn't show the deck collapse very well, but if you go out there, you can certainly see it when you walk across. The side photos show the story a lot better. So about half of the structure, maybe 3/4 of the structure is undermined. Water's flowing through everywhere where it shouldn't be flowing through, which has taken all the fines out. There's some big rocks under it, and much of it's balancing on those big rocks, so it's not in particularly great shape. I just attached the photos so you can see a little bit of it. The engineer was out, he did a lot more photos, he did some drone work with it, lots of measuring and such. So we will be getting a report. He indicated for both it and the Brown Bridge, the report would not come until after it snows, because he's trying to get to as many bridges yet as he can this year, and then he's going to spend some time writing reports once he can't go to bridges. So it's going to be a month or two before we see it. The Brown Bridge, he indicated that it would be likely $200,000 to make it flat again, which would involve cutting piles off it and replacing part of the deck. He said for it, he would likely have it flat, partially flat, for about 5 years before it was back in the same shape it is now. He says the piles are too shallow, and so you can keep cutting them off and it'll just keep coming up every time it freezes. So it's going to be a continual issue. There's some stuff that's going to be must-dos to keep it open. The railings on it are rotten. He figures if he gave them a good push, they'd fall off the bridge at this point. So there's some of that stuff's going to be fixed up if we're going to keep the bridge. There's a few deck planks that are really bad, a few stringers underneath that need to be some work done. But probably $10,000 or $20,000 of work to keep it open in the situation it is now. A couple $100,000 to flatten it, but it will go bad again.
Couple million to replace it.
Yep. Now the only good news is you look at how far around it is for bridges, it's slightly less needed than the other one, but not by much.
Oh yeah, comparing this crossing, yeah, this one here is likely busier.
Well, and the problem with the Swan River crossing, a lot of the problem of why it's the way it is now is the loading on it. Because it's full RTAC weights going across that forward crossing
Yeah.
constantly. When you look at the bridges, it's the only bridge across the Swan River that you can cross with RTAC weight, other than Highway 10 and 83. Like there's the main highway bridges in Swan, but when you go further on, all the other bridges that go across are on restricted roads.
What about the one by the creamery here? That's gonna be.
Yeah, that one they can go across, but they can't get to it without driving to Highway 10 first. Because they
Right,
can't come
right,
down that little
yeah.
part ditch road to get there.
Yeah.
So they have to go around on our gravel, basically 216 over to Highway 10 and then down and through, which is why they're not doing it. Plus some of those loads are probably exceeding our TAC, especially at harvest time.
So knowing
Oh,
that,
come on.
that Swan River crossing is gonna be, cost a lot of money to put cement in there to make it.
Well, that's when I talked to him about those weights, he said, oh, you mean you need an RTAC bridge here? Oh, which,
Yeah.
cha-ching, right?
Yeah,
'Cause it's not just
exactly.
a bridge,
Yeah,
it's a really big honking bridge to hold those trucks.
right.
So, yeah, not a lot of good news there, that crossing.
Well, these bridges are, well, it's an inevitable thing. It's just a matter of which council wants to stick their neck out far enough to get it chopped off, I guess.
Well, you know what the answer would be if we just closed it? Nobody would want that either. If we just said, oh, no more bridge.
We'd all get our necks chopped off then.
There's only so many options, so we'll have to see the report. We'll do the DFA thing. I don't think that'll work. When it doesn't work, we'll have to be in a position where we know the pricing, and the next time granting comes, we can be like, we need this. And try to chase after.
For an actual bridge, you mean?
For the,
A bridge,
yeah,
bridge.
actual bridge. Because no one's gonna give us money to fix.
No one's
something
gonna
that
give us
could
money
never
to
be.
fix it, that's gonna be the same in 5 years.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No.
You said it was 3 million for a bridge?
Roughly, he's gonna do a better estimate, because he did all the measurements and stuff. He'll come up with an estimate that's rough, but without doing actual geotech of drilling holes to see what's under there.
And that's RTAC, that would be an RTAC.
I was also to the Montney crossing, yesterday, dropped by there. It's quite an interesting bridge.
Anybody around?
It's, except for the questionable legality of it, it's quite a nice crossing now. It's essentially been paved over. So where it was just rocks before, now it's had lifts of gravel installed and packed onto it. So any vehicle could cross the crossing. The unfortunate part is that's completely illegal
Until next spring again,
until
then.
next spring. It all washes away. I did speak to Water Resources from the province to ask if, the province was going to be mad at us for that. He indicated, no, it'll be Fisheries that wants to issue a fine for that bridge.
Yeah, be a
So-
whole,
I did, the reason I was there yesterday, I was checking to see if we had some compliance on our road closure signs. I'm happy to report it appears we now have compliance on leaving the signs alone.
Yeah, cause that road is actually closed.
Yeah,
It's been, there's no bridge.
technically there's no bridge there except for the one that was illegally built across the river.
So yeah, nothing can, we have this, it's closed.
so we're not held liable. for
No,
anything.
we just send them to the right people.
Here's who did it, go get them. So,
We don't have to haul cement pillars in there, cement.
we'll have to at some point, when When it
Yeah.
becomes an issue, we'll have to go in there and remove the cement that's left over from the crossing. But, like right now, it is absolutely impossible. Fish are passing that. There's no way fish are getting through that crossing anymore. And when fisheries figures that out, we're done. Just the reality of that. Once they figure that out. And it would be, again, it would be another $3 million bridge.
Yeah.
A little gravel road. It's just not workable, but
No.
it's going to really upset people when, because right now, essentially, they've just, those that need to use it, fixed it in a way they can still use it. But it's not a way we can condone. So. All right. Everything else on that, shall we move on?
Move on.
5.9, we received a notice of motion last time around to reconsider third reading of this particular bylaw. So it was Councillor Burick that presented the motion last time. He said he'd be bringing a motion to reconsider third reading. Now, I haven't exactly written one for you yet in case you wanted input on what the wording would be. Do you care?
No.
Alright. So whereas new information has come to light with regard to the to bylaw number
0112.
2-24, and council feels the best solution is to rescind third reading and reconsider the contents of the bylaw before again voting and whereas notice of motion was given to reconsider a resolution number something, forgive me the number and after, therefore be it resolved that the council of the municipality of Swan Valley West shall rescind resolution number, do you have the resolution? Perfect. 2024-337. Do you want me to read it again at full speed so you can hear it easier?
No.
All right, is there a mover? It has to be Councillor Burick. Do you wish to move it?
Okay.
Thank you. Is there someone to second it? Councillor Zbirun. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I'm just a little fuzzy on this. So this just makes this whole resolution null and void, and then we have to redo.
Yeah, we're eventually will be go back to second reading, so we can then reconsider what's in that bylaw. If we wish to go ahead, we can give it third reading.
We're just rescinding third reading,
Yeah.
so we've
Yeah,
been,
okay.
because we've been through three.
Yeah,
We could make changes at that time.
we
Yeah.
can make
whatever we want to
changes.
do.
We can move things around.
Yeah.
There's some changes that if we want to make them, like we can take the things out that require a public hearing if we don't want to do a public hearing, or we can go and have a public hearing instead. It gives us that flexibility of let's figure out where to go again, so we can make changes. Any other discussion? Hearing nothing, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That's carried. So with that, bylaw 011224 is no longer in effect until council does something about third reading.
Okay.
510, Veterinary Services Board. Guess what they would like? Money. Now, they were nice enough to attach their financial statements if you wish to review that. Who sits on vet board here? Councillor Zbirun, do you want to give us a Coles Notes version of how things have gone there?
I was gonna do my
Okay.
report. Better then or now or what through?
Does anything you want to say impact on whether or not we give them the money?
No.
All right, then you can do it later on. Be it resolved, the financial report from the Swan Valley Event Board be accepted, and be it further resolved, the annual level of levy of $9,219.67 for 2024 be approved for payment. Is there someone that wishes to move the resolution? Sorry. Okay. I saw someone's hand, but I couldn't see whose it was.
He was pointing at me.
It was mine, it's like this.
That's why I got confused. See Councillor Kushniryk to second it. Any discussion? Hearing nothing, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That's carried. 511, Benito Water Treatment Plant Report. Copy of the report is attached. We were inspected on September 25th. It is indicated that back on May 6, 2022, we received a list of non-compliant items at the water plant. The inspector indicates that no action was taken on any of those items, and we remain in non-compliance. So a new list is attached, speaking to the issues. We have begun discussions in the office. Some of these things are really easy to fix. Some of them are half fixed already. We've begun work on putting the new raw water sample tap in. The hardest one's probably the backflow prevention device for the bulk fill line. So that's going to take a little bit of time to get done. But the signs that need to be done are in progress. They're on order already. We're not sure why there's hydrochloric acid in the water treatment facility either. Maybe it was just a warm place to put some, but it will be removed if it hasn't already been. So there's some must-dos and there's some should-dos. So the must-dos we'll take care of. We will then also go into those should-dos and do some of them. So specifically with the labeling of the pipes with directions of flow and what's in the pipes. We won't do all of it, obviously the backup and stuff, but labeling the valves. And some of that work has been done already, so we'll work through that list as best we can and kind of report back to council. But the must-dos will get taken care of as quickly as we can, so we are in compliance.
That's backup power,
That's a should-do.
that it should do.
That's a should-do. It could be on the should-do list for quite a while. But
Did they ever get a quote on something like that?
we are still awaiting the quote, I think, for the lift station. Yeah. Probably to the point of calling a different electrician for the quote, because we've waited for one for a while now for the normal electrician. There was also a note here that our total dissolved solid concentrations exceeded the aesthetic objective. And I was going to bring it tonight and I forgot it on my other desk. I actually brought you a sample of the water during backflush so you can see what we're taking out of it. It's pretty good. So I remember bringing it next meeting so you can see just,
Have us wake of that up, you drink a bottle of vodka or?
yeah, maybe the vodka after just to clean the rest of it out.
Just to kill bacteria.
Yeah. So, any comments, questions on any of that? Okay. Let's head to correspondence. 6-1. Prairie Mountain Health is inviting you to their annual general meeting. It'll be held virtually this year, October 30th from noon until 1 p.m. They will no doubt tell you all sorts of things about how wonderful Prairie Mountain Health is. If anyone wishes to attend, you're welcome to do so. Details are in the letter, how you can do that. Any questions on that? I'm sure we all wish to attend and hear the presentation. Let's go to committee reports. We'll start with Councillor Burick.
I have no committee report to report on, but I just want to ask, do we have a lead hand report?
I spoke to him earlier, and so most of what he told me is going to be in my report shortly.
Okay, that's good.
I
No,
did
that's
review some
fine.
stuff with him this
That's
morning.
fine, thanks.
Councillor Neely.
Well, I think we had that Prairie Mountain Health meeting about.
We did.
I'm not gonna say much, I'll let you, you were there, you were really into it, so I'll let you expound on that. Is that a big word?
Do you want to report on how many chocolate bars you've had?
No, just one. I was just gonna have my second one. But RJ got his fingers in there now.
Councillor Blosha.
I have no committee reports.
Councillor McGregor.
Nothing to report.
I know where you weren't on the weekend. We'll talk about that. Councillor Kushniryk.
Just the LED committee, we just discussed, we'll have to go over policies and procedures and stuff. You were there, so you'll fill us in, much like,
So not my report to you.
really not a whole lot in depth after that.
Councillor Zbirun.
I was at that PMH annual meeting, and last night we had a board meeting, went over through finances and stuff like that, and Mosey and Jarrett is our vice chair now. Met the new member from Minnetonka's, Minnetonka's,
Ken Reader?
Gail.
Reader?
Gail.
Okay, okay, yeah.
The only thing is, and we talked about this a little bit, we cannot get the vets to come out to the meeting. Like Lance says, he says, we don't know whether they need, new tile on the floor or new ceiling or what, because nobody says nothing, and so, I mean, how do you budget for something if you don't know what to budget for? So it was kind of it was an hour and a half meeting, but I mean, still, you can't plan on fixing anything when you don't know what's broken, so. And that's what it about it, and yeah, we went through the finances and everything like that, and done. Everybody went home.
Anything else? I've one or two things.
Or 20.
I knew there would be.
The list is not that long, there's still space at the bottom of the page. So let's talk gravel first. I spoke to our main gravel crushing contractor earlier today for about half an hour. I actually spoke to both brothers, had them on speakerphone together. So we had a spirited discussion about the status of our gravel supply and the status of the hauling in the north area. They advised that they will be attending to their Benito pit in the next few days to begin crushing there. So I have talked extensively to Public Works about what we want for gravel this year. And the gravel in their pit has a lot more rock in it than the gravel in the Keen's pit. So it's good to have both. There's some places where that rocky gravel works better, where the roads are softer, it pounds in good. And there's some places where it's really too rocky and just flies off. So I indicated to them that they were welcome to crush 20,000 yards for us in their Benito pit with the rocky gravel. That they could expect we'd likely drop by to see how that's going from time to time to make sure it's gravel we like. We discussed whether they were welcome to crush other gravel for us. It was a lively, spirited discussion from both sides. Because they would like to crush gravel in their big woody pit. And I indicated that we were not interested in booking gravel there. That if they're there crushing, we would go look at the gravel and see if we wanted any. But that previous experience was that gravel probably wasn't the quality we were asking for.
Right.
But if they do go there, we'll certainly go look at the pile and see if there's anything we want. But I said, don't go there on our account. We spoke about Birch River and the gravel that wasn't crushed there this spring that we had ordered. They indicated that they had never had any intention to crush that gravel. So things became a little more spirited throughout the conversation. But in the end, it was decided that perhaps we would work with the other brother directly, rather than having the one we had been working with earlier, because things could be kept a little calmer. So they will proceed on in Benito with the 20,000 yards, and that's all we've ordered from them. Meanwhile, earlier today, mobilization began for Kane's Pit. So the other crusher is taking some equipment there. The crusher itself will be arriving tomorrow, and they'll begin crushing. So I did speak to Chad about that for a while. Our thought is 30,000 yards. If there's no other gravel coming from Birch River, we need the gravel. I also asked him to speak to them about, while you're there, we know you have lots of stuff to do next year. Should we crush extra if you'll bill it next year? So bill some this year and then leave a bigger pile and bill it come January into the new budget. So we're going to explore that and see what can be done. I said the same thing to Cooks. Maybe we want a little bit more. If it looks nice and you're there, we don't want to have a situation like we had this year again where we ran out. So this year we used about 50,000 yards. I would suspect that we're going to use that again next year. as we keep catching up on some of these roads, right? So that's where we're going with gravel right now. Benito Water, so you heard a bit about the inspection we had. We have, technically speaking, 3 people that hold certificates to operate that plant. However, as you'll hear in camera, one person is now refusing to do that and has removed their certificate from the plant. So at the time we're down to 2. So one person is a union staff member and the other person that's currently able to do that is me. So when she needs a day off, the only alternative right now is for me to go there and do it. So I did attend Friday because of a sick day, and I attended Monday again as well because of a continuing medical issue, and did water operations both those days. Friday I messed it up, and I tried to get fired, but nobody would fire me from it, so I still had to go back on Monday.
I'll call Brad, he would have followed.
I know, but that was taken care of. The lagoon sampling, we're struggling slightly with that. We should have been lagoon sampling today. Unfortunately, we can discuss further in camera as to why, but no sample kits were available to do that. That should be resolved shortly. We have to have the sampling done, sent, and returned prior to November 1st. Or we'll be asking the province for emergency authorization for November 2nd or 3rd to release the lagoon, but we're still hopeful to make the deadline. We're on track for that. It's just not a comfortable amount of time left anymore like it should be, but we're working through that. In Kenville, along the curling rink, you may recall there's trees that have been endangering the building, trying to destroy the foundation and also growing into the power lines. So earlier this week, Manitoba Hydro attended along with a contractor and our staff, and we murdered the trees. So they are not there anymore. We had a resident of Kenville actually offer to take the tree material from us to his burning location, which is fairly close there, so we didn't have to haul it to one of our facilities. So we thank them for that, it helped out a lot, and able to hopefully preserve that building for longer without the trees causing damage to it. I broke our rules about approaches near Benito. I received a request from a person with a commercial application for expansion to a business. So it's where Ag West is currently located. They're using half of that building. They'll be expanding shortly to using the full building and willing to sign a 2-year agreement to remain in the Benito area. They indicated it would bring 2 additional jobs to the area. So I gave approval to install the culvert they needed to get the driveway to the shop, which I bumped above our normal list of them because it was the
Is that
commercial
just because they
thing.
didn't want to drive through their home
Right,
yard?
yeah.
Yeah,
So they're just gonna go across the field to it, so it makes a little more sense.
it's on the way to the greenhouse.
Hmm?
It's on the way to the greenhouse at
Yeah,
Benito.
Oh,
so,
East or west of it?
east,
Same road.
right at the corner there.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other tenant there is Mr. Staples. He's moving out to his new shop in Benito, which is what's freeing up the space. So then they're going to move the parts department from where it is now to Benito where the work is being done, so. They're also doing some renovations on that shop, so I was speaking to the owner, they're hopeful it's more than 2 years. They're hopeful that it might be a permanent location for it, which is quite nice to have a business choose to locate out that way. Friday, I did an interview with CBC Television. The staff cleaned the council chambers so nicely. It was nice and they got all beautiful in here. It hasn't aired yet, so I tried not to say anything that would make you too unproud of me, but we were talking about needles and crime and such. So that happened. Tax sale happened. Boy, there's a story there. So, might as well talk about the drama. We had 5 properties in tax sale. One of those individuals indicated they would attend before tax sale and pay for their property and get it out of tax sale. So we did not see them by 2 o'clock. So we waited a few extra minutes and still didn't see them. So we moved the order of sale around so that property was last, with the idea being that it would buy an extra few minutes in case we were running late or had car trouble, something to try and save it. So we did hold 5 auctions in the end. They never arrived in time. So the property that was located on Ditch Road was sold. Mr. Kushniryk bought that, not this one, a different one. He's not allowed to bid, and has paid for it already, and the sale has proceeded and everything's good. We attempted to sell the M&M Cafe. Unfortunately, no one was interested in it to sell. We also attempted to sell the property along Highway 83 in Benito. There's a house there. It did not sell either. I have attended that house. There are some pictures. I didn't attach them here, but there's some pictures. It will be a tear down. There's nothing that can be done with that house, unfortunately. Though there has been one person already ask if they could purchase the lot with the house on it in exchange for them tearing it down. So it would save us the cost of demolition. And I said we'd certainly look at that, but we would also want a commitment that something was being built on it. And they were looking at building a house there, so that could be an option. We attempted to sell the Benito Hotel, and then the drama broke out. So there were two parties wanting to bid on the hotel, and my understanding from them is that they had reached an agreement between themselves that neither one would actually put a bid on the building, and it would then go unsold, and we would be more likely to sell it for $1 to somebody after that, so they would save some money. And that seemed to be going for a while. We were to second call already, and we're starting into third and final call on selling the hotel, and there was not a single bid. And then one of the parties bid. And then the other party bid. And then there was a bidding war for a while. So they worked themselves up to $30,000 before we had reached an end on the hotel. And we were going to declare it sold, but as part of the auction requirements, it's not sold until we see $10,000. You're told you're the high bidder, you have an opportunity to purchase it, where's your $10,000? So we did that, and they did not have $10,000 with them. Which was unfortunate, because the auction rules are very clear that you must have the money with you, either cash or certified check or bank draft. So they stepped out for a moment to do some paperwork, and we were kind of hopeful a check was coming out of their pocket, but instead they left the building and proceeded on to go look for money. So we gave that a little while, a few minutes, to try and appease them, but the audience was getting to be quite concerned about our lack of adherence to the terms and conditions. So during tax sale, we have a lawyer that's actually sitting ready to make rulings on things. So we asked the lawyer to rule on what we should do. The lawyer's determination was that because the money hadn't been presented, we needed to move on to the next bidder. So the person that bid $29,500 was then offered the hotel. They had $10,000 cash in their pocket and took it out and handed it over. And as they were handing it over, the first bidder came with the money. And then real drama ensued for a while. In the end, the hotel is sold to the second bidder for $29,500. So that's obviously more than was owing. So we have already received all the money we were owed. And I think there's a few $1,000s left to be paid on the hotel yet. In due course, those that are entitled to the extra money, which could be the hotel owner or a mortgagee or anybody else that has an interest, will then receive the extra funds.
And tax sale, the tax sale funds have been taken out of it as well.
Yes, we've got all of our money already. So there'll just be that leftover.
Yeah,
There'll be $10,000 maybe extra.
I would imagine there'd be
Somebody will
some
get.
owing somewhere else.
Yeah, and we thankfully don't have to determine that. They have to, we send them a notice, everybody that has an interest, they have to go to the courthouse, and the courthouse so who should get the money. So we'll receive an order from the court for payment, and we'll then just follow that order. If by chance no one does that after 3 years, we get to keep the money for general revenue. But I expect for that kind of money, someone will get an order for payment. We then proceeded on to that fifth property. And it's a house that's occupied, or at least the property is occupied, maybe not the house, but there is a resident there. And I struggled with that. I can completely understand an unoccupied house going to tax sale and us just letting whatever happen to it. But I was struggling greatly with the idea of evicting someone in this day and age when we have so many homeless people already in Swan River. But the last thing we need to do is cause another homeless person because we threw them out of their house. However, you need to pay your taxes. We can't have people just not pay their taxes and live for free. So my solution to that was to not take the property or a tax sale. I know we all had that discussion the day before, but what should we do? Should we give it a reprieve for a year? And I think we likely made the right decision that we shouldn't, because how long does it go on then, right? It had been a couple years already. So my hope was that it would just fall to the municipality. That would have been the easiest. It didn't. There were bidders on it. But I think we owe some caring to our residents in that the bids were so low for the property, it substantially undervalued what it was worth. So I bid on behalf of the municipality, and we ended up purchasing the property for more than it was owed. So we paid $19,500 for it. It owed us around $10,000, a little more. So there's an $8,000 payment. So the person who owned it is entitled to ask for that money. I've been out to visit him, and I said, let me make this extremely clear. You can ask for that money, and the day you do is the day you get your eviction notice. Because if you ask for that money, we're taking the house and selling it to somebody else. In the interim, council will discuss later tonight in camera what, if anything, we're willing to do besides just evict and take the house. I think there'll be some proposals come forward for either a lease to own plan or something. We'll discuss that in camera because it's very premature to discuss it in public. But it was a rock and a hard place. I don't think any of us want to evict someone, but at the same time, we have to make sure that people fulfill the requirement of paying their taxes. We can't just have people say, oh, I'm just not going to pay, and nothing will happen. So we'll have to deal with that. But in the interim, at least, the property is still occupied, and we'll make some decisions tonight on what we do tomorrow morning. The person who's occupying it has had it clearly explained that he is no longer the owner of the property. We now own it, and that we would be discussing it tonight and then giving information after that of what our direction was for what's next. So we'll do that. I attended a SHARP committee meeting. That was the second one ever held to talk about how to pick up needles. Most of the meeting was consumed with the discussion of holding a public meeting for educating people what harm reduction is, and then a 2 to 3 hour question and answer period at the end of it for people to ask questions and express their opinions about harm reduction. At the moment, they say they're going to do it. We'll see if it comes true or not. Several of us attended a Prairie Mountain Health meeting. That was an invite-only town hall that was held previous to that. It too was a somewhat spirited meeting where we discussed harm reduction and various aspects of it. There were certainly some interesting comments regarding the idea of leaving needles on the ground so that the sunlight sterilized the HIV that may be present in them. Those comments were repeated at that meeting as they had been at a previous meeting. But unless somebody desperately wants a huge blow-by-blow of it, essentially it was Prairie Mountain Health explaining what they do, and many of the politicians expressing their concerns and asking them to do better. We covered the tax properties already. I did attend the landfill on Saturday to see how things were going and make sure it was attended and give some thought to this grant of what could be done there. And while I was there, a young gentleman with no front license plate attended the landfill and had a nice fire. So there was a little bit of fire going in the wood area already. We were burning some wood. And then suddenly we were burning something very, very black and smoky. So we had a talk, seeing how I was there. And I asked what it was, and he said it was sure it was leaves. And so we talked some more about truthfulness and what it may or may not be. And then I threatened to fine him for doing it. And we agreed he would never in his life do that again. And I would not figure out how to fine him, even though I was pretty angry at the time. But the moment has passed. I can also advise that theft is becoming a substantial issue at the landfill. There's a blue Dodge, I believe is what it is, that has been driving up along the trees on the field and is stealing our scrap metal.
I wondered why there was a
In
trailer
huge
parked
amounts.
there for a while.
So staff are now on the lookout for that, but others can too. If we find the vehicle there, we're looking for the license plate number because we'll be laying charges for theft. We have some evidence of it, but we don't have proof of who it is yet, so we'll work on that. Earlier today, I think it was, community planning circulated the subdivision notice for a fire hall in Benito, which makes publicly official the fact that the municipality has entered into an agreement to purchase land for a new fire hall in Benito, and that land is currently subject to subdivision pending approval from the regulatory authorities that's expected to be received in 20 days. at which point we will then be executing the agreement to purchase the land and dealing with a couple of zoning issues to make it be a fire hall. On the mowing front, the lead hand indicates the second mower is fixed and working. He figures there's about a week worth of mowing left in the north. It will then be moving to the south to catch up the south. And that should then, in about 2.5 weeks' time, we'll be in a position to do back ditch mowing if the snow isn't too deep yet. So we'll see how that goes. I did attend the LUD meeting. It was, I don't know, kind of boring. I got there 15 minutes late, and I think they were mostly done discussing everything already, but I sat there for a little bit just to visit with them. So we talked about some things, some of that policy stuff that we're gonna firm up there for when those meetings, how those meetings, do some review on some of that, some of the minute stuff. We also looked at when they should be approving checks, because we need to do some funds transfers from them to the garbage account and such now, to have them pay for the services they've used this year, so we talked a little bit about that. For the most part, there was another issue brought forward from Public Works, but it's under HR matters in camera. That is what I have to share. Questions?
Very informative.
I knew you wouldn't let us down.
I'm not sure if that's
That's
a
a
good thing
nice
or
way to
not,
put
but-
it.
Next time we have committee reports, just the Reeve has the floor.
If there's anything else, not seeing anything, we're going to take about a 10-minute recess. We'll come back after the recess. We'll be going in camera tonight. We intend to be discussing union negotiations. That's coming up soon, so we're going to look at the contract. We're going to be discussing that tax sale purchase, a couple things, about a couple of them. We do have a job application review tonight. We have some HR matters on the agenda as well, and that'll probably take up way more time than we have. So with that, we'll stand in recess. We'll be back in about 10 minutes time.
Okay.
Perfect.
Coming back from our break, we'll go to 8.1. Be it resolved that pursuant to section 1523 of the Municipal Act, Council shall meet as a committee to hold a closed meeting and continue discussions in camera regarding personnel matters, negotiations, preliminary discussions, unresolved legal matters, and investigations of or enforcement of an act or bylaw. So mover. Councillor Neely, I see Councillor Burick as well. Any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? That's carried. Just coming out of the in-camera discussions, are there any resolutions to come from in-camera discussion? Go to notice of motion. Does anyone have a notice of motion to present? Hearing nothing, we'll head to section 10. Be it resolved that this meeting will now adjourn at 9:57 p.m. Be it further resolved the next meeting is Tuesday, November 5th.
November 5th?
Is it November 5th?
No,
That doesn't
third.
sound right.
No, what? November 3rd is Sunday.
How about 12th? November 12th
November
at
12th.
7 p.m.
November 12th.
Councillor, where are you? Blosha first, and then Councillor Neely. Any discussion? Hearing nothing, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That's carried. Thank you everyone for a great meeting.